This video was made possible by Patreon and by the contributions of viewers like you. Thank you.
When I started the Blob 2, I expected a breezy puzzle platformer, full of cities to splash color on. What I was greeted with was an opening that dragged its feet, was a little too wordy on the tutorials, and took its sweet time getting to the playful coloring bits. It was all well and good from there, with a dynamic soundtrack and simple puzzles, providing a pleasant whir of activity. Then I hit Blank Town. This is where we find out that the villain, Papa Blank, has removed all the color from the neighborhood to turn it all white, kicking out the people who used to live there, and turning it into a gated community. To put a stop to him, I need to find underground protesters, take back cultural centers like the library and theater, take down his brainwashing centers, one of which happens to be in a church, and go to the Senate to make an appeal against him before the election? I mean, Papa Blank sure does sound like a politician doing some heavy gentrification if you ask me. This is of course undone in the next stage, where after showing Papa Blank rig and win an election, he, in an act of dramatic both sidesism, reveals himself to be Comrade Black. Still, this is a surprisingly involved political plot for a kids game. And while its ideas are ultimately decoration, the Blob 2 shows a better acknowledgement of the mechanisms of resistance than the average shoot people until your revolution bar fills up that most games employ. Don't get me wrong, you'll destroy plenty of dictator statues and propaganda machines along the way. But by setting conflicts in cultural centers, it shows an understanding that the struggle happens as much in people's hearts as on the streets. It's a bit shallow, but it makes it more interesting than the plethora of other games tackling the idea of revolution.